Alright, we're going to start with the first flipping of the classroom in Miss McCrory's geometry class. And we're talking about lines in the coordinate plane. We're going to start with a proof. Point-slope form. Given the slope of a line through points x1, y1 and x2, y2 is, slope equals the difference of your y-coordinates over the difference of your x-coordinates. We're going to prove the equation of the line through the first point with the slope is y minus your y1 coordinate equals m x minus your x1. Okay, so let's let xy be any point on the line. So we always start with what's given. We're going to start with your slope formula. Y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Justification is given. Then we're going to substitute our point on that line into your slope formula using substitution. And then we're going to multiply both sides by the denominator using your multiplication property. X minus x1. Then we're going to simplify because this cancels out to 1. So on the right side of that equation you have y minus y1. Therefore, you now have your point-slope formula by using your symmetric property. Okay, first question here. Write an equation of a line with slope 3 through this given point. And we're going to write it in the point-slope form. That's your y minus your y1 equals m x minus your x1. Go ahead and identify your slope. It is given. Your x1 is your first coordinate on that point. Your y1 is the second coordinate on that point. And then just substitute into your point-slope form. This here in green is your answer. Number 2. We're going to write it in the slope-intercept form, and we're given 2 points, point 0,4 and point -1, 2. So, first, in order to put it in the slope-intercept form, you need to identify what your slope is and what your y-intercept is. So use your slope formula, substitute in, therefore slope is 2. Once you know what your slope is, to find out what b is, the y-intercept, we can substitute 0 in for x and 4 in for y. Simplify this equation here, and your y-intercept is 4. Also, if you go back to the problem, anytime your x-coordinate is 0, then your y-intercept is going to be what that y-coordinate is. Then we're going to substitute into our slope-intercept form. Therefore, our slope is 2 and our y-intercept is positive 4. So this right here is your answer. All right, on number 3. Line with x-intercept equal to 2 and y-intercept equal to 3. We want to put it in the point-slope form, identified right here. Okay, first you need to go ahead and identify your points. Well, if our x-intercept is 2, we know our y-coordinate is 0. So here's our first point. If our y-intercept is 3 on our second point, we know our x-coordinate is 0. So identify your points first. We need to figure out what slope is, so use your slope formula, substitute in. Slope is going to be -3 over 2. Now, you can choose any point you want here to substitute into your point-slope formula. You'll see that I always like to use the first point. Therefore, I'm going to substitute 0 in for my y1 and positive 2 for my x1 here in my formula, and then I'm going to simplify. This right here is not in simplest form because we can get rid of the subtract 0. So this one right here is your final answer. Alright, now we're going to graph lines. When you're given the form in slope-intercept form, all you need to do is identify your slope and identify your y-intercept. You all should have done this last year in algebra. You always start with your y-intercept. That's positive 3 on your y-axis, and then your slope is rise over run. Now notice how I didn't go up 3 and right 2, because I didn't have room. So what I can also do is do 2 negatives. I can go down 3 and left 2 and still have the same line. One way you can check, I have a positive slope. Left to right, this is a positive slope. Second point, it's given to us in the point slope form. So right underneath it, I wrote your point slope form. We can go ahead and identify M. It is -2, and we can identify a point on that line. Remember, our X is our 1, and our Y coordinate, it's -y. Well, this is a +3, so to get the two negatives, it needs to be a -3. I'm sorry, to get the two negatives to make a positive, your Y coordinate needs to be a -3. So, start with your point. I'm going to go right 1, down 3, and then from this point here, I'm going to do my slope. Now again, instead of going down 2, right 1, because I ran out of room, what I can do is I can go up 2 and left 1. My slope is negative. This line here has a negative slope. Number 3. Anytime you have x equals a number, you are going to have a vertical line. Any x coordinate on this line is going to be equal to 3. The only value that's going to change on this line is that y value. When y equals -4, it's going to be it's going to be a horizontal line. Here's vertical and here's horizontal. Any point on this line has a y coordinate of -4. All right, now we're going to classify. We're going to classify these two lines. They're both in your y-intercept form, so we can go ahead and identify the slope. Notice how the slope is both 2. However, our y-intercept is different. We have a +3 and we have a -1. So if we have the same slope, but different y-intercepts, that means we have two different lines and they will never intersect. They are called parallel lines. All right, now we have this line that's already in your y-intercept form, and then we have this line which is not in the y-intercept form, so we need to get it there by subtracting 6x from both sides because we're trying to isolate this variable y. And then we're going to divide both sides by -2. Make sure you take -6 and divide by -2 and get 3. Also make sure you take 10 and divide by -2 and get a -5. Okay, notice how on these two lines they have the same slope. However, they also have the same y-intercept at -5. Therefore, they are not parallel, they are the same line. They coincide with each other. They're the exact same line. Okay, on 3, we have this line. Get it into your y-intercept form. We need to subtract 3x from both sides, then divide both sides from 2. My slope is -3/2. My y-intercept is 7/2. On the second line, we need to divide both sides by 3. So my slope is going to be 4/3, and my y-intercept is going to be 7/3. Now, notice how they have different slopes. If they have different slopes, these lines are intersecting lines. Different slopes means eventually they're going to intersect. And that is it for today's lesson.